Hi guys, it's Antrese Rowe here and I'm back with another quick video for you. And today's video is entitled, Who Are You Depending On? I want to tell you a quick story about something that happened with me last week where I realized that my dependence was on humans. I know, right? What a concept. We often depend on people to help meet our needs, to help encourage us, to help with projects we have going on in our life. But I learned through this little lesson that I had my dependence in the wrong place. And so I want to talk you through today how we shift our dependence off of man and onto God. So last week, well, actually before last week, my husband and I, we were talking about the schedule, and we've been trying to fine tune the schedule in terms of picking up kids and dropping them off and getting them to where they need to be, and all of those logistics of parenting 4 children. We've been trying to fine tune that for a while. And I feel like we're finally moving into a really good groove where we're working together as a couple. But one morning last week, my husband, he had to leave early for work. And so it was up to me to get everybody ready, fed, and out the door on time for school. And this is something that I've done before, so it's not out of the ordinary that I get the kids ready. But we do work together as a team. He has his role and his responsibility and things that he does with the kids in the morning. And I have my role and my responsibility in the things that I do with the kids in the morning. And on that particular morning, the kids were out of sorts. They were doing things that they do not normally do. They were doing all kinds of stuff. And I was at my wit's end in about 10 minutes. And so instead of going crazy like I wanted to, I said to myself, because they were like, it was just really out of characteristic, all the behavior that they were displaying. You know, kids will be kids, but my kids were being beyond kids in that moment. And so, I said to the Lord, I said, I feel like you're trying to teach me something. And this is actually the first time I actually went there instead of sulking and feeling sorry for myself. Because normally, my mind goes to this place of, if he would have been here helping me, this would have never happened. But is that really true? I don't know, maybe. But what I learned in that moment by taking it to God instead of blaming my husband, God showed me that number 1, he is always with me. And number 2, if I include him in the things that I'm doing, there's some things that he wants to show and teach me. And that particular morning, he was teaching me some things about being responsible for my attitude and my emotions and my thoughts and the things that go on in my head. And it was just a major aha moment for me, because I thought to myself, how often do we depend on people as our source instead of depending on God? So there are 3 verses, if you have time, that I would love for you to look up that teach us how to go to God and depend on him as our source instead of depending on people. And the first one is Psalms 121. And in that verse, it tells us that our help comes from the Lord. And I'm paraphrasing all 3 of these because I want you to take the time out to look on your own and to spend some time in asking God, who are you depending on in this season where you should have your dependence on him, okay? The second verse is Acts chapter 1, verses 12 through 26. We see Jesus has already gone back to heaven after his crucifixion, and the disciples are trying to figure out who's going to replace Judas. Now, if you're not familiar with this story, I do encourage you to go read it because it's actually very interesting. I had never noticed before that instead of just making a decision on their own, they went and prayed first. And then the third verse is Luke 5, chapter 5, verse 16, where it talks about Jesus retreating to quiet places to pray and get the will of his Father. So I encourage you to check those out. Now, let's jump back in the story. If you are human, you have probably been disappointed by someone or disappointed someone. I know I can't be the only one. That just happens because we're human, right? So I want to take you to this place where you learn how to not put all your dependency in people, yet rather you put your dependency in God. Because when we put our dependency in God instead of man, what we come to find out is through prayer, there's some things he wants to show us. First, he wants to show us what's going on in our life. So these feelings that we feel that he dredges up, he often dredges up to show us our heart condition and to show us that we've got some things that we've got to work on. And that's something you should never be afraid of, because there's no condemnation in Christ Jesus. And he wants to clean us up, and he wants to get us on this path where we are living our best life so we can bring others into the kingdom and help them live their best life too. So don't be afraid of what he shows you, because when he showed me that morning that I had some things that I was holding on to that I was not taking responsibility for, I was like, wow, I hadn't looked at it that way, but it was eye-opening, and it really helped me as a person do better. So typically what he's going to show you is he's going to show you in that quiet time that, number one, you need to depend on him. Reason being is if you really are in a situation where you need help, he's going to show you exactly who to go to for help. Oftentimes we'll put things on people and want their help and want them to do this for us and that for us, and we're setting ourselves up really for disappointment, because if God has not talked to them or pricked their heart or pressed in on their heart about helping us, and they tell us no, then we're just totally frustrated. But had we gone to God first and he showed us who to ask for, he shows you because he knows that those people are typically equipped to help you with whatever that thing is that you require help with in that season of life. Now, the other thing that he showed me through that whole challenge that I was having with the kids is that I had given away my power in that particular situation to frustration, and I was reacting in the moment instead of responding. And so because my kids were acting out of sorts and they were doing things that they don't normally do, I was getting frustrated and allowing them to really steal my joy. And so God showed me, he's like, you need to reel that back in, press into me, and I'm going to show you how to respond instead of react. And so what he showed me was we are responsible for our wholeness. And we have to have good boundaries with people. If we don't have good boundaries and we're not taking responsibility for our actions and things going on in our life, we have this thing where we get frustrated and we have these expectations that we put on people that are not their responsibility. So as mature people, we have to be self-aware and we have to be responsible for the things we are required to be responsible for. So you may ask, what is it that I am responsible for? And what are things that we allow people to steal from us throughout the day because we are not handling or having a hold on our emotions? Have you ever had a day where something happened that got you out of sorts and you allowed that to ruin your whole day? That was my morning the other morning. And I'm learning in this season how to not allow small situations to steal my whole entire day. It doesn't have to be that way. There's freedom from allowing moments to steal your whole entire day. So here are some of the things that we allow to just be taken from us without even realizing that these things have been stolen from us. Our time, our energy, our joy, our identity, which we talked about last week. If you didn't catch that video, I did on identity. I encourage you to go back and watch it. I believe it will bless you. Our focus, our affections, and our dreams. We are responsible for all of those things. We can't give them to other people and hope that they will do with them the things that God has called us to do with them. So I encourage you to take some time today to look at your life. Look at things that you have just readily given over or have expected people to do in your life that is maybe not their responsibility, but yours. And I encourage you to take those things back and to get quiet in prayer. So I'm happy that we're at this point, because this is where you might be asking, well, how do I get those things back? And I just said one of the ways we do it, I have 3, but the first one is prayer. Because in prayer, when we seek God, for what's happening in our life, he'll show us where we're distracted. And if we tell him areas where we're feeling powerless, he'll give us specific strategies for getting that power back. It's his power that he's given us. It's not our own man-made self-power, but it's the power that we receive through the Holy Spirit. The second thing is discipline. Once you figure out the things that have been stolen from you, you have to make a decision to be disciplined and commit to walking out whatever God is showing you. He corrects those he loves, so there's no condemnation. He's not showing you so he can say, oh, bad person you. He's showing you because he loves you and he wants you to live in freedom and he wants you to walk in wholeness. And then the third thing is accountability. Notice I said accountability last. Normally we put accountability first. We go when we get on the phone or we text or, we try and talk to people about all the things that are happening in our life. And it is wonderful to have friends, but they should not be the first people that you go to when something pops off in your life. The first person you go to should be the person who created you, because he is the one who's going to show you either he wants to do this with you, he wants to partner just specifically with you and work it out with you in that quiet space, or he will show you who is equipped to help you walk this thing out. So, in accountability, you share with someone who you know will cheer you on to do better. I encourage you, as you look for accountability, don't look for a yes man. Don't look for people who will just tell you what you want to hear, but be bold and courageous enough to look for people to tell you the things that you know you need to hear. Now, that leads me to my last thought, which is very, very important. The truth isn't always what we want to hear, but it's what we know we should do. So this particular video, it challenges us in so many areas. And like I said, you are not alone in these things. These are things that I am constantly walking out on my own and trying to get better about and hearing the Lord on. And I know that there are others out there who are trying to press in and figure it out too. So I really hope that this video encouraged you. Please feel free, if it did encourage you, to share it with others that you know may be encouraged by it as well. And you can feel free to leave comments and know that I am praying for you. So if you have prayer requests, you can feel free to leave them in the comments. You can also send me a private message. I'm happy to pray for you there as well. God bless.